Hi there, my name's Bryony. I'm a psychologist and the head of coaching here at Relish. And today we're talking about 3 tips to improve communication in your relationship. So as we know, relationships are built on communication, and unfortunately communication tends to fall over when we're stressed, anxious, unhappy, tired, unwell. So it can be really helpful to have some strategies in place to be able to just, communicate effectively even when we're not going that well. And that's often when we need to communicate effectively, essentially. So here are some tips we've put together that will likely really help you in these moments of stress and uncertainty. The first tip is to have a code word. So this is similar to having a safe word during sex, but it can be a safe word for arguments. And essentially the idea is that when we're engaging in conflict with our partner, so if we're arguing, if we're starting to get upset and agitated, what happens is that all the blood goes from the front part of our brain, which is the, logical, rational, consequential thinking part, and it moves to the back part of our brain, which is around aggression, survival, those primal instincts. And we call that being flooded. And we know that when we're flooded, we're much less likely to be able to have productive conversations. And we're really going to say things that we regret. We'll probably become physiologically aroused and then perhaps shut down or escalate. So it makes sense to kind of stop things before they get to that stage, because it rarely helps a conversation to both become flooded. So a code word can be really helpful to remind your partner or let them know that you're becoming flooded or you feel like the conversation's escalating. It's great to have a pre-agreed code word, so you talk about this beforehand and then you can kind of bring it up as needed. And essentially it's just a de-escalation. So if you say the code word, whether it's Galapagos or ham sandwich, whatever it is that you've agreed on, that's basically a signal that you'd like to step back from the conversation and maybe return to it in 30 minutes or so when you're feeling calmer and when you're feeling like you're more able to have a productive conversation. This can be great because it stops a conversation from becoming something that's more intense and less helpful. The second tip is a check-in date. So we know that we can have the best of intentions when we have a big conversation with our partner. We can talk things through, we can feel really motivated around making these changes, which are clearly important and necessary. However, it can also be the case that life gets busy and we start to slip up. So we can find that we might be changing our behavior at first, and then life gets busy, things settle down again, and we actually stop doing whatever we've promised to do. So having a check-in date is really helpful. And when you think about it, if you're working on a project at work, you probably have weekly or even more frequently than weekly check-ins. You talk about how things are going, you problem solve, you troubleshoot, and it's exactly the same with a relationship. And when you think about it, your relationship is potentially more important than work, particularly just one little project at work. So if you can make a check-in date every week, it can be your date night, it can be going for a walk on a Saturday morning and talking things through. You can keep a shared notes document that you communicate through, or you sort of mark your progress, whatever it is that's going to work for you, to help you to kind of do this regularly. So make it a weekly thing at least to check in with how you're going with these goals and what's working and what's not. The final tip is to talk through conflict. So this could be something that we don't really feel like doing, particularly after a disagreement. So essentially, again, at work we might do this. If something goes wrong, we unpack it, we figure out what's happened to try to make sure it doesn't happen again. And we really should be doing that with these arguments that we're having. So if you've had a big argument and you've sort of moved on, you've both apologized and things have settled down, there is some value in going back with the agreement to keep calm and just unpacking what happened. So similar to what you might do with a coach or a therapist, just talking through the conflict and exploring what it felt like for you, what you might do differently next time, what might have made it into a productive conversation instead of a fight. So again, this is kind of reframing it as a learning experience as opposed to a really unpleasant argument. So that's it from me. I hope you found this helpful, and see you next time.